Christianity is nothing but Greek mythology mixed with Egyptian religion. And Jesus is nothing but Zeus. Say Jesus in Spanish. Hey Zeus.
Hey Zeus, that's right.
Hey Zeus. Son of God.
That it may know itself. And that's the beauty of what we are speaking about in the higher metaphysics as God perfecting itself in man. God did not create man. The concept God did not create man. Man created God.
That's right.
And when you understand that man is the creator of God, then you understand that man is God. Because all concepts that we could ever perceive of God is still flawed. We are still perfecting our perceptual antenna so that we become higher and higher, so that we perceive more and more of that which we perceive as God. But understand that God could not perceive of itself, because if it is all knowledge, it could never know itself. It could just only be. So what it did was it began to detract or separate from itself, and as it separated from itself, it created a void. And that's what they speak about in the Bible. As God separated from itself, the void that they talk about in the beginning, that's the beginning. The beginning happened when God separated from itself in its attempt to know itself. You want to deal with deep metaphysics, then we could go into that. But to explain it the way you do, verbatim, and try to put limited intelligence to the words, you do yourself a disservice. You do the work a disservice that your ancestors left for you. So the separation of God from itself to know itself ended up being polarity, which is why we have the masculine and feminine principle. That separation to create the void, that void that we are feeling with one another when a man needs a woman and a woman just needs that man, that's the void. In the beginning, God created heavens and earth, and the earth was without form, and everything was void. Yes, there was a void. That void was when the Most High pulled away from itself to know itself. Because being all of itself, it could only know itself. It could never know itself. It could only be. In your book in Exodus, you saw that Moses was spoken to, and he said he was spoken to by an entity called that said it was I am that I am. And then again he turned to be I am. So I am that I am speaks to a static perfection. No movement. When you say I am, or I am that will be, that's that static perfection in movement. And I am that will be became Adam. And Adam left the garden, or was kicked out of the garden. He had to be kicked out of the garden, because perfection is death. That's why the Most High creates, in order to perfect itself. Anything that's totally perfect dies of its own volition, because there's nothing to do. Cancer perfects itself in your body. How does cancer perfect itself? By killing you. So, cancer, in its movement towards perfecting itself as cancer, kills you. So as its person moves towards perfection, cancer dies as you die. That's why Adam had to be kicked out of perfection. They tell you that the Garden of Eden was all perfect. Why was it all perfect? What happened in the Garden of Eden that changed the perfection? If it was all perfect, then anything existing in the garden would be perfect. Who was the serpent? If the serpent perfect, then obviously the serpent was also perfect. Because nothing was allowed in the garden that was not perfect. Everything was perfect in the garden. And they say except the serpent. But the serpent was God. The serpent was an aspect of God communicating to itself through Adam. And it said, it's time to leave. You must eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Good and evil meant polarity had to be created. And in the polarity did God begin to reflect and see itself in the mirror of its own creation. And then Adam was kicked out of the garden, but Eve stayed. Read your Bible. If Eve stayed, that meant that Eve was the beginning of the perfection. Eve was the garden. So understand that what you read and what you're studying has a greater depth of knowledge and calculated wisdom seated within, buried within, laying comatose within. That is the Osirian body that is wrapped up in all of the wrappings, and they do the ritual to bring forth the body of Osiris again. That is why Isis, who is the symbol of knowledge, has to raise her husband Isis from the death, because Osiris is wisdom. Knowledge without wisdom is lost. She roams the countryside. Knowledge is how do you say? It defeats itself, its own reason to be, without wisdom. So understand that the feminine principle is the vessel of knowledge. She is the one. That's why this age is a female age. The computer age is a female age, because it's all about gathering knowledge and information. That's what it is. Gather information. The feminine principle is the gathering of information. But the tincturing of that information into wisdom is the masculine principle along with that. And that's what's been missing in our black community. We don't have the masculine principle lending the wisdom to all the knowledge that the females herself brings in. And she's a vessel that is necessarily part of the scheme of the knowledge-wisdom circuitry that is missing inside of our own genetics, or is being systematically bred out of our children today in the education system. And this amalgamation of gender duties that has our sisters doing things outside of the structure of their own bodies. We have to put sisters in war gear now because we have to fight for our independence, but that's not their purpose. The sister's purpose is to teach and raise a nation, and she should be kept stress-free. Because if you have babies coming through a woman who's stressed, what kind of baby are you creating in there? You see. So a lot of what it is that we are going to find in the new years to come, towards that cycle that we call the end cycle of the 2012. When that begins to happen, great upheavals are going to start happening. Great cataclysms are going to start happening to show the change is here. And the first thing that's going to go is religion.
I noticed when you study in ancient Kemet history, I noticed how the Kemites had always risen their women up and kept them on the same level as them, as a balance. As we was talking last Saturday with us, a few of the Israelite brothers and other brothers around, even some of the gods, they always say that the man is higher than the woman. I would like for you to express that right there.
That's insipid. That's that is what has been seeding the controversy. And when you have made a generation of people to push that kind of nonsense, then the conflict begins to happen where our sisters believe that, and then it becomes a thing where it's an adversarial role that they play to try to gain respect back through that kind of teaching. They have to fight the people who hold that kind of nonsense in place, and thus we have this marginalization of effort into what the women are going to think about as a feminization. That's why the feminists were so easily swayed our sisters into that particular thought process. The feminists is white women having problems with their white men, which they always had. We now adopted that because essentially now we have taken on Willie Lynchism. Now we have to deal with that. But that also goes back historically to the fact that there were times when the women began to use that as their argument for control as well. And we have times in the ancient days when women used the fact that their bodies were the vessel through which life continued. And that was also used as a misconception to believe that the feminine principle was God at one time. And then it changes again, where it says, okay, man is God. It's going to change back again, and we're going to go dancing back and forth until we find out that both are God.
That's right.
And that each one is a principle of God manifested. And when we understand God the Father and God the Mother, then we understand God the Child. But we are too busy in the kind of egotistical one-upsmanship that has been propagated by this Western philosophical dynamic, that somehow a cult of personality is built around knowledge. And that's what's happening in the underground. And I'm saddened to see that they would take the information, such as the ones that are staying raw, real, and has no bullshit attached to it, that we're going to try to, make a cult of personality out of it. I don't want to be made into a personality figure. That loses the concept. Then the personality becomes the issue rather than the knowledge, and that's not what my head has been about. That's why in the 27 years that I've been doing this, I have not sought any following. It loses the purpose. I raise each and every one up to understand that I am not any Messiah. Don't look at me as a Messiah or anyone as Messiah. We represent a collective Messiah that must be raised at the same time. And I say that you ain't gonna get none of these Negroes to do a damn thing. Anytime revolution happens, it's gonna happen when everybody, all the people say it's time. Because the people we're gonna raise up, and it's the people gonna tell you when they're ready to be led.
That's right.
You see, because we can go to the people. Brother said to me, well, why wouldn't you want to go and speak to the people about all the knowledge you have? I said, I will speak to the few, because it's the few that's fucking up the planet, not the majority of the people. It's the few that's running everything. So the few can change everything. And all we need is 1/10 of this planet thinking along those lines, and we could circumvent everything that was done on this planet to the detriment. So if we want to teach the small group of people who are ready to listen and to learn, and with them they become more dangerous, because then it's an undercover thing. It begins to seed the underground, the young people. Just like I heard today. What's today? Today is what, Tuesday? Sister called me and told me that the white boys out there, the white kids out there are picketing, and they're out there marching against the U.S. government. They're out there saying, white people saying, how dare this racist ass government talk about this and that. I said, oh, the chickens, bless Malcolm. See what I'm saying? So I'm not going to try to instigate a revolution before it's time. That's when our leaders get picked off.
That's right.
A true leader knows what to do with the hellstorm that comes into place. Because a hellstorm's coming. But the true leader will now know what that energy is, and then take that energy and convert it into power. But until that time, until the people are ready to rise up, ain't shit gonna be done. That's right. So right now what you do is you stay in preparatory mode. You keep preparing the people. Keep telling them what is to be expected, how to survive, what to do, how to say. Keep preparing that. Keep going back and getting your seeds, take them out to schools, teach them yourself. Whatever it is, if we all take our children home, where they gonna put us all? They all gonna lock us all up? They ain't gonna lock us all up because they ain't got no room.
Same way if we all was to stop working.
Exactly.
That'd be a
Stop
big
it and drop it. That's what I said.
I was reading the Daily Challenge this morning, and I noticed the brothers and sisters over there in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They getting it on over there with the stop spending money in restaurants and all of that.
Exactly.
That's
I saw that too.
It's time to go. Now the mayor is calling them all together and telling them, they call them economic terrorists.
Economic terrorists. Now no longer are you boycotting.
Right.
For a reason.
That's
you are
right.
economic terrorists. And now the idea is that the newspaper will give that title in order to seed it to the masses. So that when you understand the word terrorist is attached to your activities, it now gives the government a chance to move on you based upon that terminology. Now that falls under the Homeland Security Act. It now takes you down under the terrorist bill. All of that brings you up underneath that. So anybody propagating you stopping the flow of money to these bastards, now they're going to be a terrorist. So I said, okay, I'm a terrorist then if that's the case, because I'm saying everybody stay home.
That's right.
Shut down your lights, your TVs, light your candles, stop eating for a week or two, because you can do it. Man, your Jesus stopped eating for 40 damn days. You stop eating for 40 days and just sip some water, drink your own urine. You shut this bastard down in about a month. In a month, they'll come to you on their knees, asking you, what can they give you?
That's right. That's real.
So in the beginning stages, it's hard, but all change is with pain. But a lot of people, they want to be too comfortable. The real revolutionary is not theirs yet. But they're raising up in the ranks. They're coming soon. Because these kids ain't taking their shit no more. And thanks to the brothers like yourselves who's out there disseminating the information, making sure all the young brothers and sisters in the places that you all are getting that information, whoo, a hailstorm is coming.
Right.
And I don't want to be around when these kids, if you've been bullshitting these children this long,
That's right.
and you've been bullshitting these people in the churches, in the school systems, in whoo, I don't want to be around, I don't want to be, listen, when these kids, why the fuck you fucked up my generation? They're not going to look at me, because I've been doing my damnedest to show them what the shit was. They coming after your ass for lying to them. So I don't want to be in the way, and when they're at it, I'm stepping right out the way. I'm going to say, there they are. That's them. You understand?
That's right.
I'm just going to point you out.